I was brought up on a farm
in the Western District down near Warrnambool. And that was just a really joyous life. We had lots of fun. So I'm a farm boy. Don't like getting my hands dirty anymore, etc. But then went away to boarding school for about 4 years in Ballarat, which was really good fun. I was a sports nut. I still am. And so I was a sports nut and played football. I captained the college football team and the tennis team, etc. Then I go to university, as you do, to Melbourne University. And I did a PE course there, physical education, because that was my world. And that was fantastic for an 18-year-old guy doing a PE course at Melbourne Uni, because you experience every type of sport in the world you can, with people who are really elite athletes in their various fields, and that was so many different fields in PE. I was probably above average in most of those, etc. But sometimes some of those performances in different fields, the guys and the girls, was just elite. So then I headed off as a school teacher. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't really care where I was going to. In actual fact, the applications for schooling, I just copied a mate's form, because I hate filling out forms. It's a thing I hate. And started filling that form. I literally copied his. And then I ended up getting sent down to Moe in the middle of the Trove Valley, which is a really rough area down in Victoria. And I had a fantastic time there. I taught for probably about 9 years there. At the Moe High School, etc. And that was a lot of fun. I got involved in sport myself there, as in played in AFL a couple of teams. I coached a couple of teams while I was down there, because it was just an extension of being a PE teacher and enjoying that particular sport. Etc. And then I got a bit sick of teaching after a while, not in regard to the enjoyment, but it was just something I thought I don't want to do for another 10, 20, 30 years. It was kind of, people as kids can only progress a little bit at a time anyway. You can't fast forward that. They've got to go through progressions in any field. Probably a bit like life as well too. So then my first wife, I've got the X factor. I've got 2 ex-wives, but my first X factor in business is great. It's not so great in personal life, I suppose. And so then I built it. It was a massive thing. It had probably cost quite a few $1 million today to build an indoor tennis stadium. I bought all this land, subdivided into 3, sold off some of those. 2/3 of that, and then built a 5 indoor synthetic grass tennis court. It had a creche, pro room, and all that type of stuff. And that was kind of really an extension of enjoying sport. And so I became very proficient at tennis as well, because some people after, and it was really good. It was a huge cash flow business, and it was chock-a-block. However, I got caught up in the interest rate rise, because we borrowed a fair bit on a lot of money then. So that was, I can't remember even the years, etc. Where interest rates went from 12.5 up to 18.5%. We had heavy borrowing, so we lost all our money in regard to that. But that's happened. That is life sometimes, and that just happened. But it was a good learning experience, and that was great. But before building that tennis centre, I was weighing up my options. I really loved real estate, to go into real estate or build a tennis centre. It was either or which way I wanted to do, because I had a passion for both, and because I thought, I can build a tennis centre, get it running, etc., and that'll be fine. Then I can get a manager in there. Then I can go into real estate, which I really want to do anyway at some stage. But obviously that changed with the interest rates going up that amount of money. So I ended up getting into real estate myself anyway. So instead of being in the local town in Moe, where I was going to be a real estate, I decided to head off to Melbourne. So I went to Melbourne, and I was a real estate agent in Armidale, Malvern, Glen Iris type of area, for those people that know. They're fairly good areas within Melbourne. So I was there for a while, and then I opened my own business there. I was manager for a while, and then I opened my own business for a while, so that was going really well. And then my ex-wife, and then I got married again during that time. So then the second wife, it's funny though, I married. Oh no, I'm not even going to say this. This is odd bit. I'm not even going to say that. But anyway, so anyway, so I got married, and I was pleased to walk away from number 2. But
when she walked away, she actually had two young kids at that stage. They would have been probably 4 and 6 or 3 and 5 or something like that. Her parents lived up on the Gold Coast. She always wanted to come up to the Gold Coast. So she came up to the Gold Coast with the kids, which was understandable, and I was fine with that. And then the lease on my building came up for real estate down in Melbourne. Then I thought, oh, what'll I do? You renew for another 5 years because you're making 5-year decisions. So I said, no, bugger it. I'm going to go to the Gold Coast as well too, because I was kind of a bit over to a certain extent looking after staff. We probably had a staff of about 10 people. Sometimes you become their PA, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, rather than doing what you want to do. And I've been in real estate long enough where I knew what I was doing, but to spend all my time helping other people, etc., was kind of, I was getting a bit over that as well. So when the lease came up, so I decided to come up here, and I started right. My timing was perfect, actually. I landed up here, and I was lucky I got a really good job as a sales manager for a company, and they paid me reasonably well, because I arrived up here as soon as GFC hit the Gold Coast. So I'm a very influential guy, I would have thought. So I arrived up to the Gold Coast here, GFC, and that was pretty tough the first couple of years, but I was a bit fortunate in regard to the gig I got. But I was a bit worried about the principal that I was sales manager for, and you know her. I was really concerned. I used to ring mates. I was concerned she was going to go broke, because if that happens, the first person that ever goes is office administrators, PA, sales managers. They're the first to go in any business when it's getting really tough, and it was really tough for every real estate agent at that time, and a lot of other businesses as well. So I said, no, bugger this. So I thought, I'm going to go into sales, and I can do exactly what I want. So she was really, really good to me. She kind of let me go 50-50, so I was still kind of half sales manager and half sales manager and half salesperson, was kind of, because that's my future business, is people I've sold to, people I've sold for. As sales manager, I was never going to have those. And so therefore I went into sales. And that property there was the first ever auction I did in Queensland. There we are. So it was a good auction to kick off on the dance floor, I suppose. And so I became a salesperson there, and it's been really good now because I know so many people up here. I've sold to, I've sold for, and even after probably 15 years up here, probably 13 years as a salesperson, I suppose, as in those clients, when you add them up, how many people you've had dealing with the buyers and sellers, it's so sometimes you forget them, you know what I mean? Because you move on to the next gig and then the next gig, and you have really good live experiences with people going through the reasons why they're selling, the reasons why they're buying. So that's a really, really good on a personal level. And then I joined Dane, this office here, probably about 10 years ago now it would be, and it's skyrocketed, and it's probably the biggest real estate company in Australia at the moment. And it was from coming from a business that was, it should have closed the stores. It wasn't making anything, but all of a sudden a new principal takes over, very positive attitude, never a micromanaged type of person. So that made it really good and people enjoyed. And that was through the end of the GFC. So his time was right. It's right near the end of the GFC. But, you know, when micromanagement makes it really, really hard for people to be positive sometimes. But and there's still no micromanagement today, and so that's what I do. I still do auctions. I prefer doing, I haven't got a PA. I've had PAs before, which has been really, really good and helpful. It makes me a bit accountable for things that I should be doing, but sometimes now I haven't got a PA, I can do exactly what I like. But I know a lot of people, and I really enjoy real estate as far as selling people's property. Most of my business runs, like your business, not from buyers, and most people wouldn't know this. I make my money from people who want to sell. So if someone refers me, and sitting here, Clinton's been wonderful to me over the years, because we met socially one time and we've been really good friends, and he's been a really good referrer, because he understands is my business is run for people who want to sell. Because I got a house to sell like that one, I have 300 people coming to me. I don't even have to lift a finger. My daughter can be there. But if I've got a buyer and I follow a buyer around, they can look at one of 400 properties with every different agent. You can spin your wheels, and it doesn't take you long in real estate after 12 or 18 months to realise, hang on, I'm not going to make any money from all of these buyers. I'd rather have the property to sell than they all come to me. So that's my world, that's my life, and I've got a lot of
friends in real estate.
and outside of real estate, and this is my thing. Any little questions that people might have of me or about me, rather than asking behind my back, I wonder what he said. That's all good.
Okay, well, I'll just say something if no one's got questions. So, it's hard in a referral group to know whether the people that you're referring to are any good. So just to give you a bit of confidence, if you know anyone that is thinking about selling, Campbell will do an obligation-free appraisal. I've sold 2 properties through Campbell. One sold for full price, and one was in a townhouse complex where one particular agent just dealt with that complex. You kind of felt a little bit obliged to listen to that agent. And I did have a chat to her about it. She told me how much she thought it would sell for. I sort of felt like it could possibly go for a bit more. Got Campbell to have a look at it. It wasn't in good condition.
No, it was really, really bad,
And it
actually.
was a nightmare. Nice nightmare. But
Yes.
Campbell sold it for $45,000 more than the other agent thought that they would be able to get for it. So you're in really good hands if you refer anyone.
It's good getting repeat business all the time. I've got one guy who's a neighbour of mine. I've sold 9 or 10 properties for him, etc. And he knows every agent on the coast. He comes straight to me. Clinton's been a great referrer to me for business-wise, and I've sold quite a few for he and his wife. And his wife was my PA for a little while. So in essence, when his wife was my PA, she became my boss, as Clinton would understand.